everyone who is listening, and greetings from Hattiesburg. With Southern Miss Radio, I'm Miracle, your host for Southern Miss Today. From our community, I hope to offer you the most recent news and interesting tales. The Mississippi Moment and a news wrap are included in today's packed show to make sure you're up to date on what's going on in your neighborhood. We also have a very special guest for you to add on to the excitement. However, before we get too excited, our sponsor has sent us a little message. So hold on tight, everyone, because we will return shortly with more Southern Miss Today content. Stay tuned right here.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Sponsorship comes from American Graphics. Located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg, American Graphics provides custom screen printing and embroidery. They can be reached by phone at 601-602-2277. And the website is goamericangraphics.com. American Graphics, printing at its finest.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. First up, we have a ton of great events to cover for USM Hattiesburg on Campus News. September 4th from 7 to 9 p.m., USM students are welcome to participate in an entertaining competitive game show at the Joe Paul Student Theater. Remember to bring your student ID so you can find out who will be the lucky winner. The celebration that opens our first home game weekend for Southern Miss football will take place Friday night, September 6th from 7 to 9 p.m. at Spirit Park. Don't miss the entertainment by DJ Dragon and the food trucks that will be there. Following this event at 9 p.m. at The Rock, the Screaming Eagles event organized by the student groups of Southern Miss Athletics and the Alumni Association aims to foster a feeling of game day tradition among the present USM student body. Students get to experience something new as they sprint into the field during the Pride of Mississippi Marching Band's pregame performance. Into the Light will take place at the University Baptist Church on Saturday, September 7th at 5 p.m. This program uses a concert environment to educate our audience about how social injustices impact music composition and performance, and consequently, how they may use the arts to change the world in a meaningful and constructive way. This unique motivational event emphasizes the role that the arts play in promoting social justice and shows how completely integrated the arts are within the society from which they originate. Into the Light will raise awareness of injustices in the arts and overlooked composers, providing greater understandings of the ways in which these artists' personal lives influence their compositions, bodies of work, and careers as a whole. In Hattiesburg news, there are a few people who will certainly smile at the latest theme at the Pocket Museum. A collection of jokers that one could find in a deck of playing cards have been created by Kelly Vera, a science instructor at the University of Southern Mississippi, and will be on display at the museum. A Dex Joker card is usually the most imaginative of its kind, with 4 suits, 9 number cards, aces, and normal face cards. Thanks to Vera and her swarm of wild cards, the Pine Belt may now enjoy this visual treat. In Mississippi news, Tuesday morning, first responders in George County are still looking for a teenager who went underwater in the Pascagoula River. The George County Sheriff's Office says 17-year-old Jacob Mullen is who they're searching for. Mullen went underwater near Mixon Lake Monday evening when first responders received a call about an accidental drowning in the river, south of Highway 26. Law enforcement has been searching throughout the night. In a Facebook post Tuesday morning, GCSO asked the public to keep the George County community in its thoughts and prayers, which we will all do. In national news, Appalachian High School in Barrow County, Georgia, was placed on lockdown in response of reports of gunfire, and a large amount of law enforcement officers arrived. There's a medic helicopter and dozens of ambulances and police on the ground. Stretcher-bearing people, at least one, were loaded into the chopper. They took the helicopter to Atlanta's Grady Memorial Hospital in response to the event at Appalachian High School. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp claimed he directed all available state resources. Students have left the school and is under strict lockdown. Let's all please send loving energy and prayers for all the students at Appalachian High School. That's Southern Miss Today's news update for you. Stay tuned for the latest on sports and the weather coming soon. Once we hear from our sponsors, we'll be right back.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Research shows that audiences feel positively about businesses that underwrite programming on their community radio station. Research also shows that the audiences are likely to patronize businesses that support community radio programming. The audience also believes that businesses that support community radio care about their community. If you want to build this type of relationship with WUSM's audience, call us at 601-266-4287 to ask about sponsoring programming. It's more than just exposure, it's building a community relationship.
Welcome back, everyone, diving into the Eagles sports segment. For our sports news, September 7th at 6 p.m. at The Rock, the Golden Eagles take on the Lions at the first home game of the season. Southern Miss head football coach Will Hall spoke with members of the media following practice on Tuesday, September 3rd at M.M. Roberts Stadium at Carlisle Faulkner Field. Hall discussed the Golden Eagles' prior game against Kentucky and the upcoming home opener against Southeastern. The Golden Eagles play host to the Southeastern Lions for their 2024 home opener on Saturday, September 7th at The Rock. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. and will be streamed on ESPN Plus with Jason Baker and Austin Davis providing commentary. Fans can also listen to the radio broadcast with the voice of the Golden Eagles, John Cox and Lee Roberts on the call on Rock 104.5, Southern Miss flagship station, or on an affiliate station of the Southern Miss Sports Network. For more information on USM Sports, visit southernmiss.com. Regarding the weather, it will be mostly cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm in the late afternoon, so don't forget to bring an umbrella. Later on into the evening, it will be cloudy and humid with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Up next, we have a Mississippi Moment produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage with Powell Ogletree on the USM Alumni Association. Check it out.
This is Mississippi Moments, produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage at the University of Southern Mississippi and supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. I'm Bill Ellison. Powell Ogletree's first task as Southern Miss Alumni Secretary was to organize the group into local chapters. He explains why they chose March 30th as the day each chapter holds its annual meeting.
When you start doing something, you don't have an organization, it's very difficult. So I started organizing chapters. We had no chapters at the time. So we organized chapters and we moved from 0 up to 67 chapters, I believe it was. We had them all over. And then I started researching all the important dates in the history of our school. We had several, but it seemed the date that we were founded by act of the Mississippi legislature and signed into being by the governor of the state, March 30th, 1910. That was the date we selected, and we called it USM Day. So we started our chapters meeting on that date, and we emphasized let's have the meeting on March 30th because that was the day we were founded. There's unity and purpose here by having it the same day, and it seemed to be successful.
To hear more, visit MississippiMoments.org or just like us on Facebook. Mississippi Moments is supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. The humanities are for everyone.
That was your Mississippi Moment for today. Coming up, we have the pleasure of hearing from Dr. Jonathan Yarrington, so stick with us while we hear a quick message from one of our sponsors.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
Never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you Mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Now, please give a warm Golden Eagle welcome to Dr. Jonathan Yarrington. Hello, Dr. Yarrington. How are you doing today?
Hi. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Now, just to kind of start with, would you give us a little biography of yourself?
Sure. I was born and raised in southeast Idaho. Grew up playing the violin, singing all through school. Went to college my first year to be an engineer, and then switched over to music and studied music through all 3 degrees. My master's was at the University of Nebraska, did my doctorate at North Texas, and finishing that, I got the job here at Southern Miss, and I'm beginning my 11th year teaching here.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a wonderful place to be.
Absolutely. Now, North Texas is a well-known font of musical talent. Is it hard to compete in a place with so many other stellar artists?
Well, the University of North Texas College of Music is the largest college of music in the country, and also has the original jazz studies program, and it's huge. So, yeah, being an undergraduate there, I think, would be challenging, but as a doctoral student and a tenor, it was a wonderful place, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area in general was just a wonderful place to be in the arts, to be a performer. There was so much support for that, so many opportunities, and I found to really thrive there. And the other graduate and doctoral level singers and performers there, I think, really flourished. It was a great environment for me to learn and build my craft and continue my education.
Absolutely, and it's, wonderful to build so many networking experiences with the people you also went to school with. Is there anything other than the music or the story that led you to pick Die Schöne Mutterchen for this event?
Yeah, my colleague and friend from Georgia College, Owen Lovell, reached out and said, "Hey, would you like to do this piece?"
Okay.
And Schubert wrote 2 song cycles, which Die Schöne Mutterchen is one. And I've done his other one called Winterreise a number of times. It was, in fact, the first recital I did as a doctoral student at North Texas. But I've never done this other piece, Die Schöne Mutterchen, and Owen never had either. And through a mutual friend, we got in touch, and he said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And I said, "I've never done it. Let's do it." And that was sort of how that collaboration got started. We gave a performance of it in the spring at Georgia College, where Owen teaches, and now we're doing it here.
Awesome. How does it compare to the last song cycle you did?
This is, I could say, much more chipper, cheerful kind of song cycle, even though it doesn't necessarily have a happy ending.
Right.
It's much more upbeat and uplifting. Winterreise means winter's journey, and Schubert wrote it towards the end of his life. He was very young when he died, in his late 20s, and it's much more somber. It's about a young man wandering through the frozen winter and seeing in it reflections of the girl who dumped him and how sad he feels and all of that. Whereas Die Schöne Mutterchen is about a young man wandering along, following a stream, coming to a mill, seeing the young woman there and kind of falling in love with her. She, of course, doesn't return his feelings, et cetera, but there's a much more hopeful and excited energy and tempo and all that to these songs, as compared to the Winterreise, which are slow and sad for the most part.
Yeah, that's definitely a vast difference. Now, while Schubert wrote the music, William Müller wrote the lyrics and story. Was that common in that era then?
Yeah, I think in terms of art music, it's almost always the case that the composer sets someone else's text. Certainly in opera, the one exception being someone like Richard Wagner, who wrote the libretto for all of his own operas. But in general, in opera and in art song, there's usually poetry that a composer finds and that speaks to them, and then they decide to set that to music. There are exceptions, but in general, yes, composers set other people's poetry.
Okay, understand. How much in common does a song cycle have to a modern album? How close to current pop music are the songs in this song cycle? Are there any hits?
Well, in general, I think if you come to this looking for pop songs, you're going to be sorely disappointed. This is very much early 19th century art
Right.
song, but this is very much a sort of storyline, or we could think of it as a concept album about this journey of his feelings that peaks partway through with him being sure that she's in love with him, and by the end, she's clearly not. Her boyfriend shows up at one point, and the dejection at the end is a lot like a concept album. I think of something like Rush, what was their album, 2112, or Pink Floyd's The Wall. It was even called like a rock opera because it had this whole story from beginning to end. That's maybe the closest thing that this is, but it certainly doesn't have any popular kind of music or instrumentation. It's just piano and voice. The sounds are very traditional, what you would expect of, fancy art music from the early 19th century. But the themes and the emotions underpinning it all are very much contemporary. Who hasn't been in love with someone and had it not returned?
Right.
Struggled with disappointment, struggled to communicate or handle their feelings, et cetera, et cetera. So while the music may seem older fashioned, the subject material is very much relatable.
Yeah, and that's so interesting to me that someone from the 19th century could be going through some of the same things we're going through now.
Yeah, I really think in some ways, in terms of our emotional life, we're still very much in the romantic period in terms of our feelings, our thoughts, and our expression of them.
Yeah. Now, did you learn German before you did this song cycle?
I have been studying German off and on my whole life. I took it in high school. I took it in my undergraduate. I took some during my doctorate. And I still don't feel fluent. I don't really speak. I get too self-conscious. But I've sung in German for 25 years.
Wow.
A few years ago, I was singing for some native speakers, and they said, you really don't have an accent. And that made me feel glad. Now, of course, when I sing tomorrow night, I'm sure, in live performance, things happen, diction issues show up. But it did make my little heart glad to hear that at least some of the time I can sing it without so much of an accent. So that's something that we all work on as singers and as part of our craft. But you're never really done. And I wish I spoke better. I wish I practiced more. But I do love the language, and I do love the poetry and the music.
25 years is very impressive to be learning a language such as German. So I think that's incredible. Do you find it difficult to sing in German?
When I started, it was very difficult because there are just sounds that we don't make as English speakers. But English is a Germanic family language, Western Germanic language. And so there are similarities, there are cognates, there are things that make it less problematic. I definitely have more trouble singing French, personally, than I did German. But yeah, there are sounds that took a long time to get used to. And in Italian, when you sing, you elongate the vowels and hold them as long as possible, and the consonants tend to be, brief. And in German, in order to get a nice legato and connect the sound, you have to give some of the consonant sounds more time. And that took a lot of getting used to. It's just a different way of thinking about legato and creating the musical sounds in the text itself that need to be there, that are very elegant and make the music happen in that way. So yeah, it's another thing I don't know that you're ever really done working on or honing your craft for, but it's challenging at first, for sure.
Absolutely. I was a choir kid, and we would spend weeks practicing the language that we were singing and the correct pronunciation and how to sing it correctly. So I completely understand how nerve-wracking it can be. Have you learned any other languages besides German?
I've studied French some, Italian some. Spent quite a bit of time with Czech. There are a lot of native Czech speakers and descendants of Czech people in Texas. And in fact, the University of North Texas has a connection with Czech culture. And so I had some opportunities there to learn an opera in Czech and to learn a song cycle in Czech and perform them in Czechia and also in Texas. So I feel like I have some facility diction-wise with that language. But speaking it, It's just a whole new level. It's even more difficult than any other I've studied. But yeah, I do love languages, and I do love studying them for singing in particular. I think it's, again, there's music that's written for the melody, there's music that's written for the piano or the orchestra, but then there's music in the words themselves, and that's an essential part of creating the music in the moment. Is the music of the language is so important.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. Now, if you could choose any language to do another song cycle in, what would you choose?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Russian. I think I would love to learn to sing in Russian. They're not necessarily a cycle of songs, but there are a number of Rachmaninoff songs that I've always wanted to sing. And I think that's what I would choose, is some Rachmaninoff, a group of songs there.
Oh, you could absolutely do it. Now, I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Yarrington, for coming on today and providing insight in what you do.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely, of course. Coming up, we've got a news wrap with Subu Lama on Could Mississippi Become a Blue State?
For decades, Mississippi has been a reliably red state, consistently voting for Republican candidates in presidential elections. However, as the 2024 cycle heats up, some Mississippians wonder if there could be a shift. With growing enthusiasm for Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris and changing demographics in certain areas of the state, the idea of a blue wave, though still unlikely, seems less far-fetched than ever before. Since 1980, Mississippi has consistently favored Republican candidates in presidential elections, with Ronald Reagan winning the state by a landslide. Nevertheless, some younger voters, particularly those on college campuses, are beginning to question whether this political trend will continue. As the first Black and South Asian vice president, Harris has been a key figure in mobilizing underrepresented voters. While Joe Biden's candidacy in 2020 energized Black voters, Harris's presence on the ticket has generated additional excitement, particularly among women of color and younger voters across the South. However, political analysts at The Hill and The Economist strongly predict Mississippi will vote Republican in 2024. The state's older, rural, and conservative voters continue to provide strong support for the GOP.
With thanks, Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio is presented to you. We are thankful to Carl, our audio engineer, and Gabby, our film producer, for keeping this bird in the air. We would especially want to thank our program director, Shania, our executive producer, Ari, our assistant producer, Hannah, and our general manager, Dr. Martin. That concludes Southern Miss Today activities for today. I appreciate you listening, and remember to always aim high and fly like an eagle. I'm your host, Miracle Jennings, signing off.
Sponsorship comes from Southern Beverage, your local Michelob Ultra distributor. Michelob Ultra has significantly fewer carbs and calories per serving if you are watching those in your diet. You can reach Southern Beverage by phone at 601-268-9111, or you can find them on the internet at southernbeverage.com. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri, and Southern Beverage ask you to please drink responsibly. If you or your business is interested in sponsoring programming on WUSM, we'd love to talk to you about the benefits and opportunities. You can get recognition for your business as well as the appreciation of the WUSM audience. The audience realizes your support provides the programming they listen to daily. In addition, our sponsorship rates are very cost-effective and tax-deductible. To learn more, call 601-266-4287.
Working. What? What's wrong with it?